The final half hour of the Gallo Show on a Wednesday, Hump Day. And we introduce to you Shuwaski Young, who is a candidate for 3rd District, which is a pretty large district. I was looking at this, goes all the way from, Noxubee County, all the way across the state, all the way down to Wilkinson County, and also in the Natchez area. So I hope you got a good pair of shoes, because there's a lot of leather that's going to be expended with that one. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Paul, good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. So you're running against do you have any competition, any competitors in the Democrat primary?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm so fortunate that, we started this race last year around July the 15th when we launched. And at this particular point, I am the sole Democratic nominee for Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District. So we're ready to go on to November.
A little bit about you. You've worked in politics for a while.
That's right.
Tell the audience a little bit about you.
Sure. So, I started my career out at the Mississippi Secretary of State's office after graduating from Jackson State University right here in Jackson.
With a guy we know well named Eric Clark.
That's right, Dr. Eric Clark. He was a great gentleman that gave me a shot after being an intern in public lands. And from there, I went on to become Director of Marketing and Training for the Mississippi Secretary of State, training election commissioners throughout the 82 counties here in Mississippi. After that, I went on and worked into electoral politics for the Obama campaign, both in Alabama as well as Las Vegas, Nevada, one of our battleground states. And, of course, after that, a lot of experience, Paul. Then after that, I went and joined Union Presbyterian Seminary and worked as the campaign administrator there, overseeing a $75 million capital campaign.
Wait a minute, you went from Las Vegas, Nevada to the seminary. Okay.
That's right. My mother told me at that particular time as I was choosing which job I was going to take, she said, well, you can't go wrong with Jesus. Take that job. So, that's the job I went on to take and oversaw.
And what stayed in Las Vegas, what happened in Las Vegas just stayed in Las Vegas.
Well, absolutely, as they say.
All right, let me ask you this: and again, so you've been in politics for a while.
Yeah.
Running as a Democrat right now, what do you think is the best government policy out there that you would forward should you win? And I think this is the bottom line for everybody out there. How do we get people from poverty into the middle class? What programs? It's really not that hard. What programs would you push forth?
Yeah, well, look, I think that's a great question. One of the things that's been really important in this particular election right now that we're talking about is how we create rural area jobs here in Mississippi. How do we bring big business also to Mississippi? And that means that we have to focus on our infrastructure. And that means that we have to be able to restore our state reputation across the country, where businesses like Apple and Facebook and Amazon can be interested in putting their headquarters here, can be interested in putting their sub-headquarters here, where folks can create jobs here in the state. I think also investing in our agricultural community as far as vertical farming is a big issue for us right now. That way we can create jobs and also tackle our food insecurity.
Let's explain that, vertical farming.
Right. So vertical farming is an opportunity where you can actually think of a greenhouse with plants and things of that nature, where we're growing all of our foods in those particular greenhouses versus out in the fields of the Delta, so to speak, which also gives us an opportunity to produce more food easier and quicker. And also healthier in some respects, but also gives us an opportunity to create jobs as well. And there's a lot of subsidies out there.
But that's open to the marketplace if they wanted to do that right now. I mean,
a lot of
number one, we don't do a lot of food product. We're not a big food producer here. I mean, we are as far as watermelons and sweet potatoes and things like that. But I mean, as far as truck crops of vegetables and things like that, we don't do a lot of that.
Well, look, I think that's what we've got to focus on in the future. We have to revolutionize and bring, high-tech farming into Mississippi to expand our agricultural landscape in this particular state. That gives us an opportunity to keep up with the high technological economy that we're actually moving in. We have to be able to advance that, and I think that policies that will bring us forward to push that forward in our agricultural sector will be very important. But more than anything, I think to answer your particular point, is that we have to be able to bring jobs to this particular state. Right now we're ranking last in pretty much every socioeconomic category that is pretty much out there. Last in education, last in business environment. And
I don't want to put a damper on this, but that's not true in a lot. We've made some amazing progress.
We have, but we're still behind when it comes to the national recognition.
Well, I understand that, but you do recognize we have made a tremendous amount of progress.
I think that there have been progress that has been made, but when you scale that with what's happening in the nation, we have a lot of work to do, and we're still far behind.
What do we do as far as taxes? Because I mean, one of the platforms of the Democrat Party is just more taxes, taking from those who are producing. And your thoughts on that?
Well, look, right now, what we have to be able to see are tax cuts for small businesses. I think that's going to give us an opportunity to expand our growth as well. We all know small businesses are the backbone of our community. So in my particular platform, that is a main tenet that we've been talking about since last year, is creating tax breaks for small businesses here in the state of Mississippi. Now, of course, how we actually do that and accomplish that is by making sure that the folks at the top, those 1% and 2% Americans, and also corporations pay their fair share in taxes.
You don't think they're paying their fair share now?
Look, I think when you look at companies like Amazon, you look at companies like Google, you look at companies like Facebook, those companies are paying basically 0% of their particular taxes. And I think that the president's right in moving forward with the 25% capital gains tax.
You start mentioning that, and again, it trickles down to the poverty level, and it's one of the stymieing things that's keeping people from moving from poverty levels into middle class, to be honest with you, because number one, for you to do that, you got to have a job.
Absolutely.
And when you put more taxes at that level, it suppresses the job market, and the people who are poor stay poor.
Well, look, Mississippi, of course, is the poorest state in the United States. We also have more extreme poverty for children here than the nation than anywhere else in the country. And this is a state where more kids don't see their first birthday than anywhere else in the country. What we want to do is be able to advance our particular education system here into STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, making sure that we're prepared for a highly technological 21st century that we're living in right now. I think that's how to do that.
I do agree with you that we have too much. The young kids are not getting a fair chance. What's your stand on the abortion issue?
So look, this particular issue is one of which is at the forefront of American policy and also social change right now. We both know with the leak from the Supreme Court and what's actually happening with Roe v. Wade that, we're expecting a change here from the court. And we both know what the 15-week ban in Mississippi and across other states are as well. I, for one, am part of those two-thirds of Americans that are opposed to overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, contrary to popular belief of what you hear from the Republican side and also the governor, is that this is what the country wants. Well, the polling doesn't show that. Two-thirds of Americans, nearly two-thirds of Americans are opposed overturning Roe v. Wade. And personally, for me in my politics, as well as what I believe personally, is that a woman's right to the decision toward an abortion should be between her and her doctor. And I don't think any of us should have the arrogance to tell her what to do with her own body.
Two-thirds is actually a poll that says, would you think we should have abortion if you cannot have an abortion because of any reason whatsoever, incest, rape, mother's health, and that's how you get to the two-thirds. When you start taking off and putting the exceptions of a mother's health or rape or incest, the numbers drop below the 50%. We've seen that in numerous different polling. So that's a little bit of an inaccuracy on that one.
Well, I think that, different statistics can show different things when how questions are asked to people and presented, as well as the particular polling. But the overwhelming majority of Americans do believe that overturning Roe v. Wade is, in fact, the wrong thing to do.
Do you think a congressman in the United States government has some responsibility to come up with answers on crime back in the districts that they represent?
Well, look, we know most of these particular issues, such as crime, are handled at the state level and also at the local level. But to answer your question, absolutely, I do, especially when we look at what's happening here in Jackson, Mississippi, with the crime just is totally out of control. And I think that, one of the things that we really need to focus on is making sure that our law enforcement has the resources that they need to be able to have in order to deal with these particular issues in the community and keeping our community safe. I'm someone that worked for the Department of Homeland Security. I worked overseeing the If You See Something, Say Something campaign. I'm a big component and supporter both of our military as well as law enforcement as a whole. But these particular issues that we're seeing around the country and as well as in Jackson, Mississippi and throughout our state, like places like Meridian, we definitely have to do a better job of policing our areas. I think that also means that we have to make sure that folks have the access to the quality of education and also jobs that they need, because that's basically tied together with that. So I want to make sure that we're supporting
Shuwaski Young. I'm sorry, Shuwaski Young. What do you call hometown?
Oh, so I was born and raised up. Well, I was born in Meridian, raised up in Neshoba County and Winston County. My family hails both from Philadelphia and also in Noxapater, Mississippi. So small town, USA.
You are a Mississippi guy then.
Fifth generation, as far as we know.
Good to meet you, sir. Congratulations on running, throwing your hat in the ring. We always advocate that, and we will see what happens. Shuwaski Young,
forward to
you got a website or something people can go to?
Absolutely. So go to Shuwaskiyoung.com. It's right there, SHUWASKI Young.com. We're also on Twitter at Shuwaski Young. Please come check us out and appreciate your support.
You got it. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so
Final
much.
segment is coming up.